Happy Wednesday, UnWoke Nation, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 94 of the UnWoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys Rich and Tim bring you the latest and greatest information for your enjoyment, baby. I'm your host, Rich, along with my co-host, Tim. How you doing, Tim?
Great, Rich, man. Glad another week sitting down, being able to have a great conversation with all of our listeners in the UnWoke Nation. Guys, it's always a pleasure having time set aside to catch up and talk about what's happening in the news. But right now, guys, we're going to do a little housekeeping as we always do. Guys, we are on all the major podcasting platforms. Tune in, do a search for us. There's plenty of great content out there for you. And I was just looking at the other day, and we started this back in March of 2023.
Yeah, isn't that amazing, man? It's like, we're coming up on, 3 years.
Yeah, it's going to be
3
crazy.
years. Amazing, guys. And we wouldn't do this without you guys. We definitely appreciate all you guys, part of the UnWoke Nation all across the world.
Okay. So in case you don't know where to find us, guys, you can we are on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, Boomplay, Good Pods. Guys, wherever you get your podcast, like I said, do a search for us. We are out there. We got plenty of great content for you. Leave us a like, subscribe if you're feeling extra generous. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you want to reach us directly, you can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. And tonight, guys, we are kicking things off with a pretty popular subject in the news right now. And this episode is Dismantling USAID. That's right. We are reimagining America's role in global development.
Okay.
So just a brief history lesson on how USAID came to pass. USAID was established in 1961 by President Kennedy to counter Soviet engagement in developing countries. Its stated aim was to promote global, social, and economic development. It's a giant symbol of internationalism, of engaging with the rest of the world. In the decades since, USAID has helped build American influence. USAID is not just altruistic, it also serves national interests. Okay. USAID can be used to help U.S. trade markets in foreign countries, help make countries more stable, stem global migration, although if you look at our border, that might be a different topic.
Contradiction much?
Yeah. Prevent the U.S. from being drawn into conflicts overseas.
Did you say condoms overseas?
Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, the protection thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that's really working out. Maybe it broke. USAID has assisted with climate programs, built resilience, and tackled energy poverty, but has also created a level playing field for U.S. renewable energy companies. So, it sounds like it's been doing a lot of good, but given the current Republican regime in power right now in Washington, international development is not too high on the radar. I think we're seeing a more centrist approach in America right now, getting our own house in order, if you will, right? And so,
dare you say, put America first?
Yes, exactly. Putting America first. This is great news if you're China, from the standpoint that if America is pulling back from the international stage, not with just USAID, but with the Paris Climate Accords, wanting to reduce its the U.S. wanting to reduce its overall spending or even contemplating withdrawing from NATO.
Yep. Again.
Yeah. If you're China, you're, dare I say, licking your chops.
Maybe.
Yeah. I can't remember where I saw it, but earlier today I saw a map of South America and the number of projects that are being funded by Chinese interest.
So basically, you're saying it's like, because if we realize, and some people have said it, where if you go into your typical American kitchen, where a good portion of products that the American people are actually using are made in China, so therefore they're looking at, okay, if America starts to back off, then there might be other, you could say, developing countries, particularly like in the Middle East, or as you had just mentioned, where they're being in South America, that they'd be able to make an even higher profit from in the event.
Yes, absolutely. And so, as you know, with the Dodge, President Trump's little trimming the fat mechanism that's being head up by Elon Musk.
Damn hatchet is what it seems.
Well,
like.
yeah, it's definitely a hatchet for sure. That USAID has definitely, I would say, almost taken center stage, if not center stage.
Yeah, because I think a lot of it just because people are concerned about the economy, and not that the American people have not been concerned about the economy, but right now, UnWoke Nation, who live outside the United States, we're dealing with something as simple as eggs. We have just a dozen eggs cost $7, where almost 8 years ago it was like $1.63, $2, right, something like that. Where so we're dealing with $7 worth of eggs. I'm a person that likes to eat eggs on a pretty regular basis, and I like to go and get some of the larger containers for the eggs and I mean, what I normally get when I make a trip to the supermarket is now $23.
So what are you cutting out of your?
Exactly. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like, my goodness. It's like, really, it's like where, I could sit there and go get, a good amount of eggs from the store. And it's like, yeah, now you got to sit there and go like, oh shoot, I'm used to eating X amount of eggs. Now I'm only going to eat this little amount of eggs.
Right. And eggs is just one thing. And that's been something that has been, well, food prices as a whole is something the administration has yet to address. But that's a topic for a different show. The big thing I think with USAID, outside of all, I guess what you could call shadow programs that are funded by USAID,
are you going to tell some of those, Tim?
Is really the workforce reduction. Okay. The Government Efficiency Office plans to slash 10,000 individuals down to fewer than 300.
Yeah, I call that a hatchet.
Yeah, that's a big time.
Right.
Hatchet. Okay. Along with all the government furloughs that are taking place, either show up to work or you're fired, or the early government buyouts at all levels.
Which, if I understand, where I think on Friday they did extend the buyout opportunity that they had for.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
From our intelligence apparatuses to wanting to shutter the Department of Education, which we talked about last show.
Yeah.
Right. This is, I don't know how much USAID counts for, but it has definitely gotten a lot of press.
Yes, it has.
And
I think rightfully so, as we have seen, I would say for the last week or so, and being several different examples, which is why I brought that up earlier, Tim, is like so many different examples, some of them that, quite honestly, guys, I mean, it's so like ridiculous to think that American taxpayers' money was spent on it. I mean, it's just I'm sorry, I have to just name one. I mean, Tim, what was it, $3 million to find out about racially aggressive mice.
Yeah, that was.
I want every UnWoke Nation America. I want you to hear what just happened. Your government spent $3 million
of your
taxpayers' money, the money that you work really, really hard for 3 months out of the year, just so they can spend it on finding to study racially aggressive mice. Let that sink in. That's got to be one of the dumbest things you could ever think. And yet, how much money are they giving to people who suffer from the hurricanes and stuff from Carolina?
Oh, yeah, that's been, what was that? Was it $700?
Yeah, $700.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
Well, the mice probably needed it. What you think? Jesus.
Yeah, the mice probably needed their Coke. I mean, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, this is a hatchet job to USAID, right? I mean, 13,000 staff put on administrative leave. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, it's not like we're trying to sit there and say it's like you want, trying to hurt people or their jobs and also, but here's the problem. We've been going through billions and billions of dollars worth of spending on some ridiculous crap, just like we discussed. And if we're going to get ourselves in a better position, because if I understand the word, they had the Doge hearings earlier this morning, and one of the statistics that it showed is that if we don't get our spending in check by, I think it was like 2035 or 2038, we're looking at about just the interest payments was somewhere between 1.2 and 1.8 trillion. That's with a T, audience. Trillion
dollars.
If we don't get our spending taken care of. And it's gotta come from somewhere. And I think it's a good idea that we start looking at some of these, which earmark, whatever it might be,
right?
These earmarks that are going on. It's like, the hell's going on around here? Why are we spending this type of money on dumb stuff that's not supporting the American people? This is ridiculous.
So this is, in President Trump's own terms, a radical left program, and he sees this program as something that the U.S. is not getting a return on investment.
Got that right, especially when it comes to Ukraine too.
Well, yeah, Ukraine that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, sorry. I only bring it up and all just because we understand that there are billions of dollars that have gone towards that war,
right? That
we're never going to get back. That's the point.
Yeah, and I mean that is a given in and of itself, right?
Yes.
But again, it's the amount of aid that we are doling out to the world. And it's not just humanitarian aid, right? Helping other countries develop their own pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to give a brief definition of USAID. It stands for the United States Agency of International Development. It is an independent agency of the United States government. It is primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid and development assistance. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It implements programs in global health, disaster relief, socioeconomic development, environmental protection, democratic governance and governance, and education. With average annual disbursements of about $23 billion since 2001.
23 billion?
Yes.
In 4 years?
No, this is since 2001.
Oh, 2001. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
USAID is one of the largest official aid agencies in the world and accounts for more than half of all U.S. foreign assistance. The highest in the world in absolute dollar terms. USAID has missions in over 100 countries, primarily in Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe.
I guess this is way bigger than what maybe people are really understanding.
Right.
What's going on and why this needs to be done. Here's the thing, guys. I don't care if it was Trump, Republicans, Democrats. I don't care who it was. The point being is that this needs to be taken care of. And let's just call it like it is, where, I mean, it's nice to have a president that's actually willing to tackle this. But we must put this on both parties where, so this isn't the first Republican president or administration that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this has been going on a very, very long time. So we can't technically say, oh, it's just all on the Democrats. It's really not, because Bush was president. He was a Republican.
Right.
It's like that. So this goes, I mean, especially since 2001. So yeah, I mean, this has to go all across DC and say, look, you guys have been spending money that's been adding up for a very long time. And now we finally have somebody say, like, wait a minute, this is really getting out of hand, and I'm willing to take it on. Now, of course, there's people out there who are probably pissed off because maybe they got paid in some way through this type of stuff, potentially, but it's like, enough's enough. This country needs to be able to get back in order.
So, according to the BBC, again, the BBC could be a completely different story with the Tate brothers, but again, we won't get on that tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly 50 countries have been affected by the freeze. This includes programs to tackle HIV, polio, mpox, and bird flu.
Okay. So my question is, why aren't these countries why are they not able to take care of that?
Well,
why aren't there other countries helping out? You said that the U.S. aid makes up 50% of the international aid. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where are the other countries that are not only being able to help? Like, let's name some. You said you named a couple of countries in the Middle East, right? And didn't you just say that some of those countries that are helped us, like Saudi Arabia?
No, it actually. So it was just reading Africa, for example.
Okay.
We know that President Trump has had a beef with Africa recently, and white farmers having their land taken and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm trying to find the other countries that were listed in this particular article, but some of those countries, again, Latin America being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly go on to say that probably lack of actual programs, or these countries probably don't have the richest governments, or don't have the stockpiles needed to support these programs. Right. Again, we get back to the agency. There's a 13,000 strong workforce that's going to be cut to less than 300.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The agency spends about $40 billion, about 0.6% of total U.S. yearly government spending on humanitarian aid, much of which goes to health programs. Again, that money is spent in Asia, sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
And Europe. And it's for and even humanitarian efforts in Ukraine.
Okay. So maybe it's more of a thing where I look at it this way, Tim. It's like we still have it where, okay, yeah, we just got to name a couple things where, or you and I have done some research pre-show about some things where that are considered ridiculous. So would it be fair for the American government to sit there and say, okay, we realize where they're spending in things where that we shouldn't aware, but maybe we should really try to think about where that money goes, because we have stuff that's going to be true humanitarian help
Right.
for, like an example, the Ukraine. I don't think the American people would have a problem with that if they know that it's something good is coming out of it. And also, but to be watching hamsters run on a treadmill who happen to be on cocaine and monitoring them is probably not a very good spending
No.
money.
So, under the Biden administration, the U.S. was the largest funder of the UN's health agency, and in 2023, it contributed almost 1/5 of the agency's budget.
Mm.
Okay. Now, this is referencing the WHO in that aspect, again, which is also leveraging USAID, but still,
Yeah.
it had been reported that USAID money had been funding transgender programs.
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. I'm rubbing my head
Yeah, I know. I can see the
right now.
the aggravation.
Yeah.
And, again, with the U.S. withdrawing from the WHO and
Mm-hmm.
USAID, I mean, it's no secret message that both Musk and Trump see USAID as a corrupt government program. There is nothing to actually, they have not presented any evidence that supports that false claim, right? And I'm calling it a false claim until actual evidence says that, oh, this is, in fact, a corrupt organization or corrupt program.
Okay, I'm not saying that it's a corrupt. I mean, its premise is supposed to be good.
Right.
So I would agree with you to say that it's not, that it isn't corrupt. It's just the fact that maybe the people who make it look corrupt because of the spending that we have gone over, that's more the issue. So I think it's more of a thing that, okay, we have, say, $100 million like that, but we want to use this in a proper way.
Right.
That if we are having some extra money, of course, putting Americans first and saying, okay, we have things where that are going on in our own country where that money can be allocated to, it's fine. And also, but when we know that we're having this spending and it's not going through true things, and also, like, if there's, say, orphanages in the Sudan or so that maybe they need food, it's like,
Right.
I don't think the American people would have a problem with that. I think we're dealing with stuff, and I guess you could use another example like being children and stuff, because I have a friend
Right.
who ran a very large adoption place. Adoption place, and also in orphanages so they were actually in Ukraine, and getting them help and all, especially at the beginning of it and all. He said, well, they weren't able to get food, and so they were having to go on to Fox News and different other news sources where to try to find people who want to donate or to help out the children.
Right.
If we had USAID money going towards there, that's not a problem.
So you're wanting, so if I understand what you're saying correctly, where's the accountability?
Yeah. Where's the accountability in all this? That's all. I think that's all people want to know. I think people are angry right now just because they see the list of, based on the research and the evidence that they've gotten in the last week and a half, and seeing how many billions of dollars have been wasted on just seriously stupid stuff.
Right.
That will piss off any American, regardless of where you stand in what aisle or whatever politically. That is just dumb.
Right. I would agree.
Think that money can be going towards something that's going to be truly beneficial, first and foremost, for the American people, but actually to be happy, if you want to call humanitarian activities. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't disagree on that point. There is a lack of accountability.
Yes.
For sure. There are individuals, staff specifically, who work for USAID, that this is obviously impacting already. I think the final point I'm going to make here is based on this article that I'm reading from. Dismantling USAID will allow China to project itself as a consistent, reliable partner in stark contrast to the US and forge stronger relationships across the global south, increasing its geopolitical might. It will also help China stand out as a climate leader, further cementing its dominance in clean energy technology.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, that, like you said, they're chomping at the bit to be able to expand their reach, whether it's Africa or different places like that. Or so I see what you're saying with that.
Right. So we already know the president's view on clean energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's to him that's a no-go. That's a non-starter for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, a very American centrist, taking care of our own house. And I think on a certain level, aligning our own house and making sure our own house is in order and cutting the fat. I think Chuck Schumer even said today that the Democrats knew that there was probably waste within the federal government that needed to be addressed. But again, the Democrats didn't do that. And this isn't to call out the Democrats for not stepping up.
No.
But again,
like I said, it's on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
on
fair.
both sides of the aisle. My question to you and to the UnWoke Nation does it make sense to be withdrawing ourselves so much from an international perspective? Or another way to say it is, are we swinging the pendulum too far in one direction that it's, to use another cliche, pay attention to what's happening in your right hand. Don't pay attention to what's happening over here in your left hand. This is, you're focusing on the right type of thing. Are we, as much as we're not fans of China,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Trump has put us into a trade war with China and tariffs and, other countries. Is this prime opportunity for China to get out and expand and say, hey guys, we're the better alternative? And how important is that to the United States 4 years, 8 years from now?
I guess the answer here, in my opinion, to answer your initial question, I think just because so much stuff is coming out, I think it's more of these initial actions being, let's just stop the bleeding and then reassess.
Okay.
I think that's a fair way to kind of look at it. And also, I understand that, again, like I said, it's like, they some people might look at this as that they are going at this like, with basically a hatchet.
Right.
And I do understand.
And that's accurate.
Yeah. So, and I do understand that there's a lot of countries where who are getting that money, who are using it in the proper way, are being basically postponed, hurt, whatever you might want to call it. So I do understand that. But I think part of what it is to make sure that the American people understand where the money comes from, you have to stop the bleeding. And so for me, to answer your question, no, I don't think that it is a problem right now. But my hope is that this administration will take the time to say that, okay, once we're able to stop the bleeding, see where it is, and we have this money again, now let's try to do this correctly so that U.S. aid will not be looked at. And do I think USA will go away if they do things correctly? Probably not. But I think for right now, yeah, Tim, they gotta stop this, man.
Yeah.
It's like, we just named one thing of millions of dollars that they're going out. So you and I have been watching this research for us over a week now, and we've seen several things that have gone on, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it needs to stop.
Okay. UnWoke Nation, we would love to get your thoughts on this topic. You can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Guys, we are on all the major podcasting platforms. Tune in, check us out, do a search. We're out there. If you're feeling extra generous, leave us a like or a comment on Apple or Spotify. Rich, a pleasure as always, man. And as always, guys, stay unwoke.
Enjoy the night, guys. Take care.